Today I'm going to be taking a look at the newest Pokemon TCG expansion, Phantasmal Flames, due out November 14th. This set features powerful new Mega Pokemon like Mega Lopunny EX, Mega Charizard EX, Mega Gengar EX, and more. If you want an opportunity to play with these cards for major cash prizes before you can anywhere else in the West, make sure to check out the Full Grip Games $6,000 cash Phantasmal Flames doubleheader weekend coming up November 22nd and 23rd. Without a doubt, one of the most exciting new Pokemon from Phantasmal Flames is Mega Charizard X EX. It's got a massive 360 hit points and the Inferno X attack, which costs 2 fire energy and allows you to discard any amount of fire energy from your Pokemon, and it does 90 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So if you discard 4 fire energy, you're doing 360 damage. 5 fire energy, and you're doling out 450 damage, enough damage to one-hit KO anything in the Pokemon TCG. So a huge new one-hit KO attacker from Phantasmal Flames that easily slots into any existing Charizard EX deck that you might already have built. Now, it's pretty apparent that the game designers intend for you to play Mega Charizard EX with Oricorio EX, which has the Excited Turbo ability, which says as often as you like during your turn, if you have any Fire Mega Evolution Pokemon EX in play, you can attach a basic fire energy from your hand to one of your benched fire Pokemon. So this just allows you to rain fire energy onto your bench fire Pokemon. You just have to have a fire type Mega Pokemon EX in play, like Mega Charizard X EX. Now, a lot of the lists featuring Mega Charizard EX that I've seen from Japan are actually not including Oricorio EX. You don't really need it if you're playing Mega Charizard X with the existing Terra Charizard EX, because you can just use Charizard EX's Infernal Rain ability to accelerate those fire energy into play, and then just use Mega Charizard X as like this big closer to finish the game and maybe take big knockouts whenever it's needed. And you can actually use a combination of Professor Turo Scenario to pick up a Charizard EX, and then Super Rod to put the fire energy from the discard pile back into the deck, and then re-evolve Charizard EX in order to reuse that Infernal Rain ability to juice more fire energy from the deck onto your board. So that combination exists now. Of course, you could build a deck that's just using Mega Charizard X EX and Oricorio EX to rain fire energy into play and take big one-hit knockouts. But I think that the darkness typing of Charizard EX combined with the consistency of Infernal Rain, not needing to actually have those fire energy in your hand in order to accelerate them onto your board, just makes Charizard EX the better combo, the better Pokemon, the better deck right now, right? Like Mega Charizard X EX is better as a featured card in your already existing Charizard EX deck than it is as its own archetype right now, at least from what I'm seeing from the results from Japan's City Leagues. There's also a new Charmander and Charmeleon, which is important to note. The new Charmeleon is quite good. It's got 110 hit points and a little poke attack that does 40 damage for 1 fire energy. And the new Charmander has 80 hit points, which is very good against those Dragapult decks, though it does make it so that it can't be searched out with Buddy Buddy Poffin, and the Nimble ability, which makes it so that it has no retreat cost if it has no energy attached to it. As you might guess, with a set name like Phantasmal Flames, there's lots of good fire Pokemon in this set. There's this new Moltres with 120 hit points. It's got the Fighting Wings attack, which costs 1 fire energy and does 20 damage plus 90 more damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX. So 110 damage for just 1 fire energy to your opponent's Pokemon EX. This can be a great lead, a solid way to soften up your opponent's Pokemon EX so that Charizard EX can knock them out later in the game. Just a really solid attacker. I mean, 110 damage for 1 fire energy, it's just great. There's also this Reshiram, which has 130 hit points, and the Burning Flare attack, which does 240 damage for 4 fire energy, while also dealing 60 damage to itself. This Reshiram could see play in Gym Leader Challenge format, as 240 damage is a pretty significant number to hit, as it does allow you to one-hit KO Pokemon like Wailord. And for 4 Fire Energy, you can actually pay for that with 2 Fire Energy if you've got the Charizard from the Pokemon Go expansion in play, which doubles up the effectiveness of your Fire Energy in play. So could be an attacker that we see in those Fire-type Gym Leader Challenge decks. God knows, they need a lot of help. Ceruledge EX decks also get a nice boost with the new Charcadet. It's got a beautiful Kamiya artwork and the Gather Power attack, which allows you to search your deck for up to 2 basic energy and put them into your hand. That's just a great way to start off a game with your Ceruledge EX deck, because you're trying to get as many energy into the discard pile as you can, and you play a lot of discard supporters like Carmine and Professor's Research, so an early Gather Power can allow you to get 2 more energy into your hand so that you can discard them next turn. Just a very strong option for Ceruledge decks to have early on, and helps to boost consistency. We've also got this new single prize Ceruledge, which was one of the pre-release promos. It's got the Infernal Slash attack, which costs 1 Fire Energy and does 220 damage, but you have to discard 4 basic Fire Energy from your hand or the attack does nothing. Now, it is pretty easy to get those energy into your hand with a card like Superior Energy Retrieval. You can just retrieve 4 Fire Energy from your discard pile back to your hand, and then use Infernal Slash for 220 damage. You could play this Ceruledge in your Ceruledge EX deck if you wanted to, since you're going to have a lot of Fire Energy in your discard pile. If you wanted to play a Superior Energy Retrieval, this could be a solid single prize attacking option for that deck. I don't really think it's worth it, but it's certainly something that you could do. This card also pairs well with the new Fire Breather supporter card, which allows you to search your deck for up to 7 basic Fire Energy and put them into your hand. A supporter that searches for 7 Fire Energy is kind of crazy. I mean, there are other supporters that search out basic energy, like Silent gets you 3. I think Lady gets you 4 of any type. But 7 basic Fire Energy straight to the hand. This card would have gone crazy in my Baby Blacephalon deck, for anybody that remembers that deck. Moving over to the grass Pokemon, we've got Mega Heracross EX, which is a basic Mega Pokemon with 280 hit points and 2 attacks. Its first attack, Panzer Horn, costs 2 grass, does 100 damage. Plus, if it was damaged by an attack during your opponent's last turn, it does that much more damage. And Mountain Thrust costs 3 grass, does 170 damage, and you discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. I think this card is not very good. These kinds of attacks, like Panzer Horn, are never good in the Pokemon TCG. They require that your opponent, play into them. And then, additionally, you get hit for a bunch of damage, then you could do a bunch of damage, but then you're going to lose 3 prizes the next turn because your Mega Pokemon just got damaged and you just kind of kept it there. And then Mountain Thrust just doesn't really do enough. It only discards 2 cards. It only does 170 damage. Yeah, Mega Heracross EX is a total bust. There's also this new Ludicolo with the Excited Healing ability. It says once during your turn, if you have a Grass Mega Pokemon EX in play, you may heal 60 damage from one of your Pokemon. You could play this with a tanky Mega Venusaur EX deck. Imagine setting up 3 Ludicolo and then just healing 180 damage from your Mega Venusaur every turn. Maybe play a Hero's Cape with it. Give that thing 480 hit points and just heal 180 damage every single turn. That would be crazy. Speaking of Mega Venusaur, this new Genesect is certainly a card worth considering in your Mega Venusaur builds. It's got the Bug Cannon attack, which allows you to choose one of your opponent's Pokemon, and the attack does 20 damage to it for each grass energy attached to this Pokemon. If you've got Meganium in play, you could imagine swinging a bunch of energy to your Genesect with Mega Venusaur and doubling up the effectiveness of those grass energy with Meganium, and then picking off whatever you want on your opponent's side of the board with a powerful Bug Cannon attack. If you've got 5 grass energy on Genesect and you've doubled up their effectiveness with Meganium, then you're going to be able to do 200 damage to whatever Pokemon you want on your opponent's board. Pretty nifty little snipe attack there. Mega Gengar EX is one of those cards that reads super good, but apparently isn't all that great if you're going off of the results from Japan's City Leagues. It's got 350 hit points and the Shadow Hiding ability, which says when one of your Darkness Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon EX, your opponent takes 1 less prize card. And then its attack, Void Gale, costs 2 darkness, does 230 damage, and you move an energy from this Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon. So against opposing Pokemon EX, Mega Gengar EX effectively only gives up 2 prize cards. And that seems really strong. It also seems really strong to make it so that your regular Pokemon EX only give up 1 prize card against opposing Pokemon EX, and your single prize Darkness Pokemon give up no prize cards against opposing Pokemon EX. That seems nuts, but as you start to really dig into the metagame and take a look at how this card might fit into the format, you realize where its weaknesses are. Mega Gengar EX's ability only protects you from damage done by attacks by your opponent's Pokemon EX. So if your opponent is taking a knockout with a single prize Pokemon, the ability is null. If your opponent is taking a knockout with damage counters placed by Monkey Dory or by Dusknoir, then the ability does nothing. Even though Mega Gengar EX is a little bit of a bust, Darkness-type Pokemon do get some huge buffs from Phantasmal Flames, the strongest of which is undoubtedly Toxtricity, which is one of our pre-release promos. It's got the Sinister Surge ability, which says once during your turn, you can search your deck for a basic Darkness Energy card and attach it to one of your bench Darkness Pokemon. Then you place 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. Accelerating energy from the deck is insane, and if we've learned anything about standard format, it's that placing damage counters on your own guys can actually be a good thing, thanks to Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain ability. Toxtricity goes perfect in your Darkness-type deck, accelerating those energy, places damage counters onto your guys, then you can use Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain to move those damage counters over to your opponent's Pokemon. And I certainly think that there is some sort of Darkness toolbox style deck just waiting to be brewed, utilizing Toxtricity, Sinister Surge ability, and Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain. There are a lot of really strong Darkness type attackers to choose from, like Mega Absol EX. You've got this new Seviper as well with the Excite Power ability, which says if you have a Dark Mega Pokemon EX in play, this Pokemon's attacks do 120 more damage. That would make it so that Jet Black Fang does 240 damage for 3 energy, which is some incredible damage output for just 3 energy on a single prize Pokemon. Also worth noting, the Toxel that evolves into Toxtricity is super good. It's got a Call for Family attack, which searches your deck for 2 basic Pokemon, puts them straight onto your bench. So great for setting up your board early on. Mega Sharpedo EX is clearly supposed to be paired with the new Toxtricity. It's got the Hungry Jaw attack, which costs 2 Darkness Energy. It does 120 damage plus 150 more damage if this Pokemon has any damage counters on it. It's also got the Greedy Fangs attack, which does 70 damage for 1, and you draw 2 cards. This card seems okay. I mean, you could do 270 damage for just 2 energy. It's got free retreat, a nice little consistency boosting single energy attack, but then you remember that this guy gives up 3 prize cards when it gets knocked out. And honestly, if I were to pair my Toxtricity with a big Mega Darkness Pokemon, I would just rather play Mega Absol. I think Mega Absol EX is just the strongest Dark Mega available right now. Even with the free retreat, it doesn't really pay for the fact that you have to evolve this thing into play from a Carvana. And Mega Absol's ability to take one-hit KOs and its ability to discard key resources from your opponent's hand just make it an overall better Pokemon. It's just more consistent and, yeah, better. Darkness decks are also getting a couple of cool new trainer buffs from this set. We've got Grimsley's Move, a new supporter card that allows you to look at the top 7 cards of your deck and choose a Darkness Pokemon you find there to put straight onto your bench. And this is neat because it can allow you to cheat Stage 2 Pokemon into play without having to evolve them up. So Grimsley's Move could be cool in both Standard and Gym Leader Challenge format. In Gym Leader Challenge format, you can use Grimsley's Move to cheat Darkness-type Pokemon like Tyranitar into play, which otherwise are not able to get into play since there is no Dark-type Larvitar. And Punk Helmet is a pretty cool tool card that recoils 4 damage counters whenever the Darkness Pokemon it's attached to is damaged by an opponent's Pokemon's attack. And I think that there is some potential for Punk Helmet to be played with Mega Absol EX. Mega Absol EX has that terminal period attack, which instantly KOs the defending Pokemon if it has 6 damage counters on it. Punk Helmet can place 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, and then with just 1 Monkey Dory Adrenabrain, you can put your opponent's Pokemon to 6 damage counters and take an instant KO with Mega Absol EX. Unfortunately, all of these water Pokemon stink. All of these lightning Pokemon stink too, but we do have Rotom EX with the multi-adapter ability. Your Pokemon with Rotom in their name may have up to 2 Pokemon tool cards attached to them. And this could allow for some sort of tool drop style deck where you're playing a bunch of Rotom that can wear multiple tools, and then occasionally they will print attacks that do more damage for the amount of tool cards in play. Here he is. This is the tool dropper right here. This is what you're supposed to play with the Rotom EX. Bronzong, it's got the tool drop attack. For 3 colorless energy, does 40 damage for each Pokemon tool attached to all Pokemon in play. So if you've got Rotom EX and then a bunch of other Rotom, and they've all got multiple tools attached to them, and Bronzong's got a tool attached to it, and maybe one of your opponent's Pokemon has a tool card attached to it, you could do infinite damage for just 1 ignition energy with your Bronzong, which would be neat, but you're probably not going to win too many games because the deck is going to be filled with tool cards and generally inconsistent. Mismagius EX is a Stage 1 Pokemon with 260 hit points and the Swirly Spell ability, which says if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, when your opponent switches in a new active Pokemon, it is now confused. It's also got the 6 magic attack for 2 psychic energy, does 150 damage, and you can draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. Mismagius is clearly supposed to be played with Bramblegast with the Panic Prison ability, which makes it so that you can leave your opponent's active Pokemon confused when you evolve Bramblegast into play. And then we've also got the new Vertigo Valley Stadium, which makes it so that confused Pokemon don't heal from confusion when they evolve. Typically, in the Pokemon TCG, you can switch your Pokemon from the bench to the active spot in order to heal from confusion, or you could evolve to heal from confusion. And it seems like the Pokemon Company has given us all of the tools necessary to keep your opponent's Pokemon confused. And the deck still seems very bad, very silly, but extremely unserious. There are certainly ways to play around this because you could use Boss's Orders, of which decks play many, to gust up your opponent's Pokemon and then switch them, in which case you will no longer be confused. You could also simply counter the Vertigo Valley Stadium with your own stadium card and then evolve your Pokemon, and then, you know, they're gonna not be confused anymore as well. Or you could just get good and flip a heads, and then it's like the confusion didn't do anything. So yeah, pretty much a trash tier deck, but it is very funny. This Zacian is quite good, and I expected to see some play in Gym Leader Challenge format. It's got the Limit Break attack, which does 50 damage plus 90 damage if the opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining for just a Psychic and a colorless energy, with Dimension Valley in play in Gym Leader Challenge format that can be used for just a single Psychic Energy. We already see Mewtwo see a lot of play, which does 90 damage plus 90 more damage if the opponent has 3 or less prize cards remaining, but that attack costs 3 energy. This Zacian's attack is even more accessible, just costing 2 energy, but it does do 40 less damage than Mewtwo. Still a very good attacker, and I expected to see some play in GLC. Along with Zacian here, Flygon is the last pre-release promo from Phantasmal Flames. It's got the Sandy Flapping ability, which allows you to mill 2 cards from your opponent's deck whenever you evolve it, and whenever it gets knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, and it can cut wind for 130 damage. It's not really that good of a card. I mean, I guess you could play your Flygon in your Great Tusk Mill deck, right? So maybe you're playing Great Tusk Mill and you're using Sada's Vitality and Explorer's Guidance every turn so that you can mill 4 cards with your Great Tusk, and then you're also evolving into Flygon all at the same time to try and mill as many cards as you can before your opponent can win. I just don't think that that's a realistic strategy right now, but like, I would love to be proven wrong. You know, there's nothing like a big, beefy metal Pokemon. Empoleon EX is a stage 2 with 320 hit points and the Counter Stance ability, which prevents all effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. It's basically like it's got a permanent mist energy attached to it. It can't be damaged by those little damage counters that Dragapult EX places with its Phantom Dive attack. It can't be knocked out by Terminal Period or Frenzied Gouging. It's situationally useful. And then its attack, Iron Phaser, costs 2 metal and a colorless, does 210 damage, and makes it so that Empoleon takes 60 less damage from attacks during your opponent's next turn. It's impossible for me to think about this Empoleon EX without also thinking about Hisuian Gudra V-Star, my beloved, with its rolling iron attack, did 200 damage, made it so that Hisuian Gudra V-Star took 80 less damage during the opponent's next turn. Also came packed with the Moisture Star ability, which could heal all damage from this Pokemon. Empoleon EX just doesn't really stack up. It's not as good. It's not as easy to get those energy onto your Empoleon EX. You would have to pair Empoleon with Archaludon EX or maybe Metang to help accelerate energy onto it. And then you've got the burden of all of those Piplup and Primplup that you have to also play in order to get Empoleon EX online. It's just mid. This new Archaludon has got the coded attack, which does 120 damage and prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's basic Pokemon next turn. So, a basic Pokemon wall. Neat. Surprisingly, Mega Lopunny EX is probably the best Mega Pokemon from Phantasmal Flames, but it doesn't read like anything crazy. It just is a very solid, splashable attacker. It's got 330 HP in the Gale Thrust attack for 1 colorless energy, does 60 damage plus 170 more damage if it moved from the bench to the active spot during your turn. So it could do 230 damage for just 1 energy, which is absolutely insane. And then its second attack, Spike Hopper, costs 2 colorless energy and does 160 damage and is not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's right, it can knock out Crustle. It can swing into Crustle and knock it out, which is something that many decks have an issue with. And Mega Lopunny EX not only solves the Crustle situation, it also solves the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX situation with its Gale Thrust attack doing 230 damage. And Mega Lopunny doesn't have an ability. So if you've got Cornerstone problems in your deck, like if you're Goldenga or Charizard, you could slot a 1/1 Mega Lopunny EX into your deck and knock out those pesky Cornerstone Mask Ogerponi X in just a single hit with a powerful Gale Thrust. Easy to see why this card has been seeing a lot of play in Japan, and I expect Mega Lopunny EX to make its way into a lot of competitive decks in the upcoming months. Mega Diancie EX is certainly one of the strongest Mega Pokemon from Phantasmal Flames. It's a basic Pokemon EX with 270 hit points and the Diamond Code ability, which makes it take 30 less damage from attacks, so it essentially has 300 HP. You'd have to deal 300 damage to knock this thing out in one hit, which is pretty crazy for a basic Pokemon. And then it's got the powerful Garland Ray attack, which costs 2 Psychic Energy. You can discard up to 2 energy from Mega Diancie EX, and it does 120 damage times the amount of energy you discarded. So if you sack both energy attached to Mega Diancie, you're going to do 240 damage. And obviously, accelerating energy onto Mega Diancie is extremely easy thanks to Gardevoir EX's Psychic Embrace ability. You will, of course, then place damage counters on your Mega Diancie, but that's never a problem because Gardevoir decks play Monkey Dory with the Adrenabrain ability. You can just move those damage counters over to your opponent's Pokemon and swing for the fences very early on in the game. You only need 2 Psychic Energy in order to start dealing 240 damage with your Mega Diancie. It is just a crazy card for Gardevoir EX decks to have access to now. Wondrous Patch is a new item card that allows you to attach a basic Psychic Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Psychic Pokemon. And like all patch-style item cards that have come before it, I expect Wondrous Patch to be very good in the Pokemon TCG because item-based energy acceleration is almost always good in the Pokemon TCG. Jumbo Ice is one of my favorite new cards from Phantasmal Flames. It's an item card that allows you to heal 80 damage from your active Pokemon if that Pokemon has 3 or more energy attached. A crazy healing card, which pairs perfectly with tanky Pokemon that take 3 energy to attack. And my mind is going straight to Mega Kangaskhan EX. Mega Kangaskhan EX is a basic Pokemon with 300 HP. You can play Lively Stadium, give it 30 more hit points. You can play Bravery Charm, give it 50 more hit points. That's 380 HP. And then with the Jumbo Ice, you can just heal off your opponent's attacks with ease without having to play Penny to pick it up to heal it. So I think Jumbo Ice is going to see a lot of play and will certainly aid those tank and heal style strategies. With Mega Kangaskhan EX, you've also got Bouffalant that you can play with the Curly Wall ability, which makes it so that your basic colorless Pokemon take 60 less damage from attacks. So that to me seems like the best tank and heal strategy available in Standard right now, and is definitely something that I'm looking forward to trying out. Heat Burner is a new item card that requires that you discard a basic fire energy from your hand in order to play, and you can choose a tool, special energy, or stadium card your opponent has in play to discard it. I really don't like conditional item cards like this. You have to have a basic fire energy to discard in order to use it. That is a huge turnoff for me. I would rather just play a card like Enhanced Hammer or Tool Scrapper, to be honest. Sacred Charm is a tool card that makes it so that the Pokemon it's attached to takes 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that has any abilities. This card's okay. I don't really expect it to see a lot of play, but in a very specific situation where you need to prevent a specific attacker from taking a one-hit knockout against a very specific Pokemon, I could see this card being played in that situation, but otherwise, I don't really expect it to see that much play. Dawn is a new supporter card that allows you to search your deck for a basic Stage 1 and Stage 2 evolution Pokemon. This seems to go very well with evolution decks like Venusaur, right? You can just go get any of the Pokemon that you need in order to evolve up into Meganium or Mega Venusaur EX, whether you need Ivysaur, a Bayleaf, a Meganium, the Mega Venusaur, whatever. Dawn can just go get the exact Pokemon that you need, and then with the Vitality Force Stadium, you can then instantly evolve those lines up into play. So I like that. Dawn seems like a nice, flexible card. In Dragapult decks, I think that Hilda is just better, as it gets you that Neo Upper Energy, which has become a staple in Dragapult EX builds. But Dawn is a good card, and I think that there are a lot of neat applications for it. I've seen Dawn played in some Japanese Noctowl lists, right? Because you can go get a Noctowl and then a Stage 2 Pokemon like Charizard EX and a basic Pokemon as well. And there's no stipulation as to whether you're getting a basic EX Pokemon or just a regular basic Pokemon. So if you needed a Terra Pokemon, you could go get a basic Terra Pokemon with Dawn so that then you can evolve into Noctowl and use its Dual Seeker ability. And then Dawn also gets you the Charizard, and you could use Dual Seeker to go get the rare candy for your Charizard. And you can kind of see how you can combo off from there. Dragapult EX, Monkey Dory, Dusknoir. These are some of the strongest Pokemon cards in standard format. And Battle Coliseum is one of the first cards that we've seen that really helps to counter those strategies. It is a stadium that prevents all damage counters from being placed on bench Pokemon by the effects of the attacks or abilities used by the opponent's Pokemon. So Dusknoir can still hit the active, but can't hit your bench Pokemon. And Dragapult's Phantom Dive attack can no longer place damage counters on your bench Pokemon. Monkey Dory's Adrenabrain can't move damage counters onto your bench Pokemon. But of course, this is a stadium card and can just be countered by the opponent. And then they can proceed to do whatever devious thing that they had intended to do. I think it's very good for the game that Pokemon printed a card like Battle Coliseum to help mitigate these powerful bench snipe abilities and attacks that we're seeing in Standard right now. But the extent of its effectiveness, we'll have to see. That'll do it for my Phantasmal Flames set review. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to play with the newest cards from Phantasmal Flames before you can anywhere else, you got to check out the Full Grip Games Phantasmal Flames $6,000 cash doubleheader weekend coming up in November. On Saturday, November 22nd, we've got a $3,000 cash standard event featuring the newest cards from Phantasmal Flames. And on Sunday, November 23rd, we've got a $3,000 cash Gym Leader Challenge event, also featuring the newest cards from Phantasmal Flames. There's a ton of stuff to do here in Akron, Ohio, and it's never been a better time to visit Full Grip Games. So mark your calendars. If you can't make it out, I'll be streaming the entire event right here on YouTube and on Twitch, so you can check it out live during the November 22nd weekend. Hopefully, I'll get to see many of you there. Y'all take it easy and have a wonderful day. See ya.